Hello, we're here today with Amy Medling. She is the founder of PCOS Diva, and she's also a certified health coach. She allowed us to come into her home today just to interview her and ask a few questions about her journey living with PCOS. So can you share with us what you go through on a daily basis or your lifestyle with living with PCOS?
Sure, I'm so happy that you're here, Sapphire, and I think what you're doing is a wonderful, ambitious project.
Thank you.
We definitely need more awareness for PCOS. Well, honestly, today, my lifestyle is very ingrained. It's really kind of comes as second nature, and it wasn't always that way. But I live, I could think the most important part of my lifestyle is my food, and that really sets the foundation for living like a diva. If you've been following PCOS Diva, you know that I really promote a gluten-free lifestyle.
Yes.
Very much low dairy or dairy-free, soy-free, and really whole food, real food-based diet. So, if you're looking at kind of like a day in the life of Amy, I usually start my day with a mug of warm water and lemon, and I'm actually drinking that right now. But lemon water is really cleansing and detoxifying. It helps move your lymph,
Wow.
and it's a great way to start your day. And then usually I have a green smoothie. I have recipes for my Diva smoothie on my website, but it usually is a coconut milk, almond milk kind of based smoothie with fruits, and I always put kale or spinach in there. I tell my clients that greens is probably the number one thing that you can add to your diet to start feeling better with PCOS. They are packed with nutrition. So, green smoothies are wonderful. And then really making sure that you're eating at regular intervals during the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to keep your blood sugar stable. And you always want to have I call it a PCF snack, a protein carb fat combination snack. Yeah. So usually around 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11, I'll have a apple and peanut butter. There's your PCF. The carbohydrate from the apple, protein,
Yes.
and fat from the peanut butter or almond butter. And then lunch is typically leftovers from dinner. I say that healthy dinners make healthy lunches.
That's true.
Yeah, so if you can kind of automate your diet with having an automated green smoothie for the morning, you have your leftover lunch. And then you always want to make sure that you have a snack, another PCF snack around 3 o'clock, because that's when your blood sugar dips. And then dinner is usually around 6 o'clock, and it's always, we don't usually eat out very often, maybe once over the weekend. I find that the best thing that you can do for your PCOS is to learn how to cook. And
that's great advice.
Yeah,
that's great advice.
To start, the expression that I use is sizzling in the kitchen. So learning to sizzle and creating real food from scratch. And I'm not talking hamburger helper.
No, you're right. And because you know what ingredients are going in, you're not guessing, what did they actually put in the meal. You're aware of every ingredient, every benefit. So that's great advice. And with eating these foods, are you noticing that you have more energy? Is that something that you feel you get from the foods?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that women with PCOS tend to be nutrient deficient, or that are really suffering with PCOS. And so, when we start adding more nutrient-rich foods to our diet, like the greens, vegetables, fruits, real high-quality protein, you're going to have a lot more energy, and it's going to be, real fluid, kind of light energy that makes you feel good. And also, I think eliminating the gluten grains too really helps with that energetic feeling, and then just keeping your blood sugar stable.
Absolutely. And was this a transition for you, or were you always the type of woman to just focus on eating healthy, or was this a transition that you made once you were diagnosed?
Well, that's an interesting question. I always, I guess, would think of myself as being health conscious, but I didn't always have the best information. For example, when I was back in college and in my early 20s, I was a vegetarian, but I essentially consisted on bagels and frozen yogurt, and that was So that I grew up or came of age during that I call it the fat-free snack well era, when fat was bad, and what did they do to replace that fat? They added more sugar, and so I was eating probably the absolute worst diet for PCOS, but I thought I was doing the nutritious thing by staying away from fat, which that's fat. We all need really healthy fat, so that's not the right approach. So, but it is a process. I think that I didn't go gluten-free overnight. It's been kind of a gradual process, but the more you realize how good you can feel eating this way, that feeling good feeling really propels you forward to continue to make healthy choices for yourself.
Absolutely. And I know you have a lot of women that look up to you and follow you on Facebook and on your website. What do you feel is just, it doesn't have to be exact, but what do you feel is like the top symptoms that you hear about with PCOS?
Well, I receive emails many on a daily basis from women, and first of all, I'm really honored that people look to PCOS Diva for support. For me, there's no better experience than being able to help women take on their health and their life. But I think that infertility is huge. I think that for women struggling with infertility, which I have, it's a really difficult thing, and I think for a lot of women, they aren't diagnosed with PCOS until they go to a doctor and are having trouble getting pregnant, and so they're looking for ways to increase their fertility, and a lot of women want to do it naturally. They don't want to go the route of lots of fertility drugs, which is expensive too. So probably infertility, hair loss, which I can totally relate to. I've experienced hair loss various periods of my life. Acne and irregular cycles. I think anxiety, depression, the mood disorders are really difficult.
And do you feel like all of these symptoms could be maintained, or by taking a natural approach, it could actually assist a woman to actually be able to live with PCOS easier if she does everything in a more natural way?
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's any one size all fits all approach to PCOS. So, metformin did not work for me. I felt awful on metformin. But I'm not going to say that metformin isn't going to be helpful for another woman. But in addition to the metformin, there's so many things that we can do from a lifestyle perspective to help with PCOS.
And you really do talk about lifestyle, meaning the food. And I know there's other things that you want to go into about the lifestyle, but as far as the food, could you just give me some examples? I know you said what your meal might look like on a daily basis, which is a great example, even for me to know what to eat. But what would you say are other foods that a woman should or should not eat? What would you like to talk about as far as the food consumption?
Well, I think that we're talking about what we should eat. I really think that we need to eat in a balanced way. And what I mean by that is I tell my clients to envision their dinner plate, and I call it the Diva dinner plate approach. So when you're planning your dinners, which then become healthy lunches, you want to have half of your plate be, I call it a water-based vegetable, but a vegetable, greens or cucumbers or zucchini, asparagus, cruciferous vegetables would kind of fall into that category, like broccoli or cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage. So half of your plate would be those types of vegetables. A quarter of your plate would be protein, so whether that would be a legume or fish or, I'm big on organic meat or an organic chicken if possible. And then the other quarter of your plate would be either a gluten-free grain like quinoa, brown rice, millet, teff, and there's lots, kasha, or a starchy vegetable, so something like a winter squash or sweet potato. Yeah,
I love those.
So you don't want to do both at the same sitting. It would be an either or. And then on top of that, we were talking about fat and how, I believe now that fat is important. So some healthy fat, like a drizzle of olive oil or coconut oil or butter, organic butter is, I think, a great healthy fat. Especially if it's grass-fed, and avocado too. So.
That's great. And through you changing your lifestyle, what symptoms did you face that you notice have been, I'm not going to say cured because I know we don't like to really use that word, but what symptoms do you feel like have been maintained or they're not affecting you as much?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you said that about cure, because I think that there's a lot of, you see a lot of sites on the web that say, oh, they can cure PCOS or I've cured my PCOS. And I think it's important for everybody to know that there is no cure for PCOS, but I think it absolutely can be managed so that, a lot of those symptoms subside or even go away. But as far as my symptoms, I had a lot of hypoglycemia early in my 20s. My husband and I would go for Sunday brunch, and I'd have French toast and maple syrup and a big glass of orange juice, and then we would go to Sunday Mass, and I would literally pass out because I was so hypoglycemic after a breakfast like that, and I had no idea what was going on with my body. But usually a lollipop would bring me back to the world. Some more sugar.
Peppermint or something.
Yeah. So I don't have any hypoglycemic episodes anymore.
Oh, that's awesome.
I can say that like my moods, my husband can usually tell if I've gone off the wagon and had gluten, because I can usually, I'm very irritable and impatient. My hair loss is improved, definitely acne, the hirsutism, and then absolutely weight. I definitely experienced that kind of spare tire, muffin top.
Or the donut. I call it the donut.
Yeah. So I've noticed that the weight has gone away. So and just really quality of life, energy, definitely. I used to have to take a nap, every day, and even when I worked, I used to put my head on my desk and shut the door, and I'd have to take a nap after lunch. It was bad. And then sugar cravings. I had crazy. I remember thinking to myself, I'm, a very smart, capable woman. I do, can really tackle any project that comes my way, but yet I have these crazy sugar cravings that I have no control over.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy to say that I'm no longer a slave to sugar.
Wow, that's amazing.
A big one, yeah.
And I know that's a big thing with PCOS too, having those cravings. It's like you want it and you don't really know why. You're just like, I just want sugar. So that is a great point that you made. So outside of the food and the cravings, what else do you feel like is important? Do you want to touch on like exercising or just like lifestyle period? Is there anything else that you want to get in there and tell the women about that could actually help them to maintain their lifestyle?
Sure. Well, as a health coach, I work in a different way than a nutritionist who's really looking at your food and counting carbs and calories. A health coach really looks at the holistic whole picture, mind, body, spirit. And I think one of the big things is I talk to my clients about how food can fill you, but it can't fulfill you. And so a lot of times when we're hungry, it isn't a physical hunger, but we're really hungry for other things in life, like a really solid, healthy relationships or spirituality. Or I think for a lot of women who are struggling with PCOS is creativity and a creative outlet. We're hungry for movement, joy, and pleasure. So all of those areas kind of need to be in balance in order for sort of the food piece to fall into balance. But I guess, let's see, if we talk about exercise, I think that women who are, running marathons and doing like real extreme forms of exercise, it's really counterproductive for PCOS. I think it sort of puts us in this like fight or flight mode.
Motivation.
And I think it elevates our cortisol, and it just hormonally doesn't really help us out. So, and I used to be a compulsive runner. I think that's probably why when my PCOS was at its worst, I didn't, balloon to, really heavy, because I ran at least 3 miles every day.
Wow, that's a lot of running.
So it was ridiculous now that I look back on it. But now I can really maintain my health doing some more moderate exercise. I love body pump, which is a form of exercise where you're doing interval cardio and weightlifting. So I think interval training like that with weights is a wonderful way to exercise for PCOS. You want to put on more muscle to help to, and I know a lot of people think, well, women with PCOS have high testosterone, they shouldn't be working out with weights because that's just going to increase testosterone. I don't really buy into that. I think that increasing your muscle density will speed up your metabolism, it will help with blood sugar control, and it's just been my experience that I just feel better and more grounded when I'm doing weight workouts. And then yoga. I think yoga has a really important place in PCOS management for women. I think a lot of women with PCOS struggle with stress and elevated cortisol and anxiety, and yoga really helps to create that mind-body connection and help women to get in touch with their bodies and appreciate their bodies.
And that's a good thing.
So that's, I think, a combination of high-intensity interval training with weights and yoga, I think, is a great combination.
Yes, it does sound like it is a great combination also to release, just to release that stress, because women without PCOS have stress. Like, it's not like we're the only ones that have it, so that is a great release. That's great advice. And we do appreciate your advice that you've given us and you've given the ones that are going to watch the documentary. Is there anything else that you want to say, one last word, or anything that you want to say just as far as like motivating, because I know you're heavy into motivation and just building women's self-esteem. Is there like something else that you do want to share just as like a last word of advice before we go?
Yeah, I tell my clients this, that I really think that you have to come to a place where you can love yourself where you are right now in this moment. Not when you lose 20 pounds, not when the acne goes away, not when your hair grows back, but right now in this moment to start loving and appreciating who you are. And I think that doesn't mean that you're not going to try and better yourself. I think as women, as people, we want to always progress, and so but we have to learn to love ourselves where we are in the moment. So I think that would be, it's such an important part of the PCOS puzzle.
Yes, that's great advice. That's something I'm going to take as well.
Okay.
Knowing my story, I'm going to take that advice. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
Thank you.